This is one of those messages that keeps getting interrupted. So this is literally like the third or fourth time I've tried to make this video. Yes, my hair is a mess, and that is okay. And today we're going to be talking about, if I can get it out, spiritually dead people, or people who are like just evil in a sense, or not. Yes, evil. So a lot of things are energy. We don't talk about energy as much as we should, because humans are energetic and emotional creatures, right? And we say this whole thing where, I mean, we have all these TV shows and whatever about like people having telepathy or like different powers of the mind, being able to read each other's minds. And there was even some documentation pointed back then when supposedly our pineal glands were less calcified, that we were actually able to psychically speak with each other without opening our mouths. So that's an interesting thing to run down, whether or not it's true. Intuition could be kind of compared to something like that, right? There's this intuitive knowing a lot of times that we have, or this feeling, or this energy. Like when I walk into a room and it feels off, that is exactly what I'm talking about. Or if you feel like you need to leave a certain place because it just doesn't feel right, or when someone comes around you and they give you like, for no reason, they give you a bad energy. Like another example, like sometimes I'll be driving down the road and you'll see someone with a really nice luxury vehicle that costs more than a house. And it's not all the time at all. But there's some significant energetic fields that have very, very, very low vibration, but very high amount of pay. And these are very powerful I guess agents of the evil. These are very powerful agents of the evil because they've accumulated a certain amount of knowledge. They are capable of, doing things, and they're very empathic, but in a very dark way, right? So empaths can be dangerous in the fact that they know how to trick you, right? If the empath is evil, and a lot of times we don't talk about evil empaths because they know what they're doing to you emotionally. They know how you feel. They understand the mechanism of action, all the chemical reactions going on in your body when they do certain things, and they use it against you. And there's even some that take it to a scientific level, knowing that I can bring her cortisol level up for doing this or that or the other. These people get really intelligent, right? They go real deep. And so when we're not aware, we're not awakened, we don't understand these things, we just will go through the life thinking like, oh my God, like I just have bad luck. And it's like, no, you don't have bad luck. You are being attacked, and from different angles, and no one has ever talked to you about it because if you're not well insulated or protected, a lot of times you won't know about this at all, right? And it is most of the time that the people that are the most threatening to these people, these evildoers, that are the ones suppressed of the information that they need to fight back. So how do you know someone's definitely evil? Well, they value you by what you have, not by who you are. So that's very simple, And I don't mean like, oh, she's 12 years old and she's embarrassed that her mom has a shittier car than Megan, who has a rich dad. That's not what I'm talking about. That's a child's play. What I'm talking about is that these are people that are, in some ways, they won't treat you like a human unless they think they can get something out of you. Think of certain, commission-driven workers at expensive stores and malls. that lends itself to a certain character trait, right? You're profiling people all day, but it doesn't mean that you're a bad person, but a lot of times those people can turn into bad people by doing certain things. Where I've been discriminated against and like kicked out of a store because maybe I look too poor, maybe I look too young, maybe I look too brown. I don't know. My point is that we can come into situations and be kind of confused by them, not understanding that there's other things at play, and a lot more of this world has a large amount of evil than most people are aware of. And I'm here to bring awareness to that. Energy is super important, and that's why we don't talk about it. If we could learn to understand our energy and learn to understand our intuition and learn to understand those intuitive nudges and to actually hear our higher self, we can evolve. But for some reason, the powers that be, they don't want an evolution. They want a devolution, right? And we're going to devolve. And that's unfortunate. And I see a lot of devolution, actually, with this new generation of children that have come out. They are devolved. They are devolved. They are less physically fit. They're hormonally and health challenged. The food quality that they receive is much worse. And their mental health is horrible, absolutely horrible. Technology obviously has a huge thing to play with that, because we as humans, we give an inch, and we should understand that people will always take a mile, so that there always has to be something in place, right? Now it brings me back to Tesla, right? And I know this is kind of a weird Tesla. Okay. He was a genius, but unfortunately, no one was ready for the technology he was going to present. And the thing is that if we would have had that, electrical mechanical revolution in the 1800s faster, right? Obviously there's technology that was made and suppressed from people for generations. A lot of the stuff that we have today, they had back in the 1800s. They just hid it, and then they fixed it and fixed it and fixed it and fixed it, and then the technology was eventually, sent out in a way where they could mass produce and gain economically from it, right? But in doing that, we destroyed our world. That's not the point. My point is Tesla, despite the fact that he wanted free energy and he wanted to do all these great things, humanity at the time was not prepared for this kind of evolution. And I think sometimes that maybe that sometimes we're not, ready. And that's why we hit ourselves back. But it's like, what if we could be ready? What if we could stop being so ignorant? What if we could, start looking at this world in a different way? What if we just stopped these wars and actually took these people that suppress us out of power? And what if we just decided that we're going to change the world and make it a better place? What if we stopped allowing HOAs to get mad at us for growing a fucking cabbage in the front yard? What if we just became more in charge of our lives? What if we decided to think what we could do for our country? I don't know, but I think the world would be a better place. So, evil people. What's another sign of an evil person? Very low empathy, right? Very low empathy. Like Jezebel, right? Or, how she just, slandered a dude and got him stoned to death simply because she wanted his property. Like, how fucked up is that? There are people out there, and they won't bat an eye about it. They'll sit there and they'll be like, oh my God, they did this horrible thing, and we should stone him, and blah, blah, blah. And then, you know what? people will believe it because this person is beautiful, they're playing a victim, they have all this emotion and theatrics, and then we stone the person that's innocent because they're confused. They're like, wait, why are you guys stoning me? What? And then they're acting like, what do you, like, you know how fucked up that situation is? And so it's just like evil people, they don't even have a conscious about it. They have no empathy. They don't care. They don't care. Selfish, perfect thing. Selfish. So let's say someone makes you take on a huge responsibility. This is an evil trait. So just, and not, and people can change these traits if they want. You don't have to be this way. But another evil trait is selfishness. So let's say I make you take on a responsibility like a dog or a bunny, right? And this is a large responsibility, right? And then we're having a whole life with this responsibility and dealing with this responsibility. And then all of a sudden you're like, deuces, I'm out. And then you just leave the person with responsibility, kind of like how, fathers leave their children alone to fend for themselves with their mothers and don't protect them. That's also evil. It's like, why are you planting your seed in people but not protecting your children? Fighting, even kings would provide for the women they impregnated. And so what I'm saying is that even a man who, let's say he has multiple wives or mistresses, he doesn't leave them hanging. He takes care of them, and he doesn't take more than he can handle. And this is a lot of the thing. It's like, if you can't actually handle a certain thing, why are you gonna, put such a costly thing onto somebody else, a big ass responsibility for somebody else that you helped create? You made that responsibility, and then just leave that responsibility for them to deal with on their own because you don't want to take accountability for what you both created. And so that's a whole other, thing. So, selfishness is a very evil trait, right? I'm not able to care, but at the same time, I'm not saying be unselfish to a detriment to yourself. You have to care for yourself, okay? And caring, and a lot of people will say, I need to be selfish, but it's like, no, that's not actually selfish. Self-care is not selfish, but like, kicking someone while they're down, that's kind of disrespectful. That's selfish. That's rude. It's like, you don't care that they're in such a low place, thinking that you could never be in that low place yourself. You reject people that are lower than you because you were born into society where you were always above them. And so then what that ends up being for an evil person, the one that scoffs at the servers and thinks they are, the end all be all to life, well, usually their karma ends up being, they figure out the hard way that the world isn't here to serve you, and you're not as great as you think, and that when you're down, people are going to kick you, and it's going to be really shitty. And the thing is that we have to have discernment, okay? We can't just say, oh, this is that way. Each situation is quite unique, and not one size fits all, okay? So let's be clear about that, and this is a thing. I don't like it when people put things in a box, okay? Don't put things in a box. Nothing goes in a box. There's so many different choices, so many different options, so many different possibilities, okay? Nothing goes in a box, all right? Each situation needs to be addressed individually because it's this individual situation. Another evil trait would be like a manipulative trait, right? Like manipulation. And like, that you're manipulating this person for evil, right? For their demise. Not like manipulating someone to go into the hallway over here so that you guys could set up a birthday cake in the back. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when your malicious intent wears a smile and you're misleading someone into thinking that you're your friend, you're the snake in the grass. That is evil, right? So people that sometimes, they're smiling, they're chipper, but you still feel like something's off, but there are no signs. question that, pay attention, think about what they say. What are their motives? How do they go about things? What are their intentions, right? You know, there or like, let's say you're listening to someone have a conversation, like, you know, this person, like, let's say you have a colleague at work, right? And you notice that this person never goes above and beyond in a situation to help somebody unless it will directly benefit them. Even if they could, it wouldn't even hurt them. It wouldn't cost the company anything to divulge the helpful information to help the customer. They won't help the customer unless it directly benefits them. And there are people like this. Like, let's say that there's just something that the person might not be aware of, and they just won't even, and then you're aware of it, and they'll be like, oh, well, in their mind, they'll be looking at this person and listening to this person like, oh, well, you know, they're like stupid. But, you know, someone with me, they're like, oh, well, I would tell them, I'm like, oh, did you know that you could do X, Y, and Z? And then they'd be like, oh, wow, you know, that's very helpful. Thank you very much. An evil person would never do that. Even if the option is available, convenient, it will make things better. They don't want to, they're not trying to go above and beyond, and actually, like, you know, be cool. You know, they're not even listening. They're reading a script. They're just a script. They're just this smiling scripted person. You know, there's, you know, a lot of times there's not, like, they lose context because they're not actually really there. They're there for selfish reasons, you know. And like, a lot of dudes, you know, especially the ones that neg you, it will almost sometimes seem like they're reading a script, you know. You're just like a lot of times, like, these dudes have just gotten so uncreative. Like, you see the same guy in different bodies, and they're all using the same trick, and you're just like, what, did you guys go to the same book club or something? Like, you know, what's going on, right? So, like, it's that whole negging thing, which is the whole manipulation, like, oh, you know, or the whole roller coaster thing that guys do. Oh, you know, tell her something sad, but then tell her something really great, but then tell her something super sad again, and then tell her something really great so that you can, you know, change the levels of her cortisol and you know, bring her emotions on a roller coaster. And that's literally a tactic people use. And, you know, I've seen people use that before. It's evil. It's very evil, because when the first thing you hear is, oh, you know, I just lost my dog or whatever, and it's not even, you could tell, like, they don't even feel anything about it, but you're just like, it's a very confusing situation to be in, because, you know, you do want to give people the benefit of the doubt, but some people, it seems as though they're using things for certain things, because it's just like, it's always a little bit off, and the timing is usually off, right? People pay attention to people with off timing, and I don't mean in autistic ways. I mean, like, purposely off timing, like inconveniently off timing, right? Like, the timing couldn't be the worst. Pay attention to the people that come into your life when the timing couldn't be the worst. Those are evil people. And for evil people, it's usually a good person, right? You know, if they're being taken down. But that's another story. Pay attention to those people that always come at the worst time, that always call at the worst time, that always do something at the worst time, that always make sure that right as you're putting something in your mouth, they want you to answer their fucking question. You're chewing, they want you to answer their fucking question. Just people that always do things at the worst time. Like, they'll be silent. Let's say, just an example. You'll be sitting there, chilling, not doing much, and the whole time they'll be quiet. As soon as you start to do anything to take care of yourself, to eat, to shower, to use the restroom, oh, and the thing is that I know sometimes that happens, and it's okay, and the timing can be a little bit off sometimes, but it's a very specific thing, and if you've experienced it, you'll understand what I'm saying. And again, discernment is key. So I'm gonna stop there because this is already a lot in this video, but yeah, if there's anything you want to elaborate, me to touch on, another video topic that you want me to talk about, that'd be awesome. You have a question for me, let me know. And thank you for watching. Have a great day.